I would like to kindly welcome everybody from all corners of the world joining us for this webinar. Before we start, let me just very quickly and very briefly introduce our fellow panelists who are here for a follow-up discussion. We have Mr. Chenxing, who serves in the capacity of Director of International Development Department at the Beijing Overseas Studies Service Association, also known as BOSSA Association. We also have Mr. Zhang Taoyuan joining us from Hangzhou Offerman Education, who represents an agency from China. We will have Mr. Joel Weaver, who acts in the capacity of President of Study Hawaii. And I see Joel is on screen over there. And we will also have Mr. Ali Rajab, who acts as acting president and CEO of Canadian Language Learning College. So I want to thank the panelists for also making the time. It's all kind of very early and very late hours in their respective geographies, but they were kind enough to join this panel to share their view and their experience on the topic that is ahead of us, which is building digital presence in China. Now, with the ongoing situation internationally, we felt that as there is such a strong necessity for the industry to stay connected, and yet it is so difficult due to ongoing COVID, this would be a well-resonating topic that might bring some useful information and shed some light on China digital marketing space, which oftentimes is quite a complex environment to understand for any outsiders, any new schools, but also those who are seasoned educators returning to China and need to stay on top of the rapidly developing digital world in China. So we will probably hear opinions from both spectrums, insider opinions from our fellow colleagues from China, and also sort of overarching international perspective from Joel and from Ali. And I'm happy to complement it myself, as we have a fair share of experience with digital marketing as such. So without further ado, I'll proceed into the slides. I would like to give a little bit of context where we are in terms of China economy circumstances, the COVID, the digital space, the channels, just to give us a good food for thought for the follow-up discussion to be had. So without further ado, let me just very briefly introduce BONARD. We are in the industry, we are known as a market intelligence firm and advisory consultancy for educators, associations, providers, and any stakeholders that are sort of vested in international student recruitment. We assist through our global data inventory. We provide independent and unbiased data and research. We do secondary, primary research. We collect data on street level. And through the data, we also try to assist educators to either enter certain new markets or create better branding opportunities, all with the objective to increase or sort of reach international students. So that's in a nutshell our capacity. And going into the market context and into the market situation, the situation in China, it would be fair to say that it is in a reasonable normal. Just this morning, I had the opportunity to speak with our Chinese colleagues. We have a branch in Tianjin, and there is 6 colleagues working there, and they all agree that it is a reasonably managed situation where very limited number of cases, if so, are appearing, in contrast with the rest of the world, which is currently witnessing the second wave of pandemic. So as you can see from some of the numbers, the current confirmed cases are in low hundreds, and just occasional local breakouts are occurring, which seem to be quickly and well managed. When it comes to international mobility and travel to China, as you remember, initially in spring, Chinese government introduced a travel ban, so it was impossible to travel to China, which was one of the measures to sort of control the spread of COVID. At the moment, foreign nationals holding Chinese resident permits are allowed to return to China, so it is no longer prohibited. However, it is neither easy, as we try to find out by speaking to local embassies and consulates, and also local authorities in China. The general consensus is that the embassies are currently not encouraging individuals to apply for visa, or companies, either domestic or international, that are based in China to invite foreign nationals to travel to China. So in a sense, there is still a certain regulation and certain policy in effect that makes travel to China really difficult. And that's basically the situation. If foreigners or domestic travelers arrive to China, they have to quarantine. There's a 14-day mandatory quarantine that is still in the effect. When it comes to the market situation, also just to give it a little bit of context and foundation for our further conversation, based on our research, very recently on a sample of around 700 agents that we reached and interviewed among tier 2 to tier 4 cities. So basically most of the market representation, roughly 11% of the agencies either went out of business or paused their overseas program offerings. So there is a certain downsize at the market, which might not yet be the final number, but it is already evident that the market has downsized when it comes to the sort of actively working agencies in the amount of interaction they are getting from the students. Some agencies started to focusing on overseas, who were focusing previously on overseas programs, mainly short-term programs like summer camps, winter camps, which didn't happen, unfortunately, this summer. They changed to domestic program offerings. So they refocused their business and started to orient on domestic sort of program supply. Having had individual and in-depth conversations with local agencies, we noticed that the temperature, the mood for sort of engagement with overseas partners, either existing or new ones, but particularly with new ones, is currently not very high. So there is a lot of effort that needs to be put into either maintaining contact or developing new contact in this sort of current global context. So that is further making the situation difficult. When it comes to sort of broader anticipation of how the industry will unfold, we will probably hear some inputs from the panelists, how they see the situation. But what we are seeing and anticipating that there might be a potential 30% downsize in overall demand and potentially as high as 50% downsize in supply, meaning a lot of schools, universities, colleges, summer program operators might not be able to sustain it through these difficult times. So unfortunately, still difficult period ahead, even though most likely certain mobility will resume in 2021. And with that, there should be a certain recovery process starting, which however will probably take full effect later in 2021, 2022. So at the moment, it's basically a waiting game, and most of the educators and agents are trying to hibernate and survive through the period. Having said that, and going more specifically into the topic of this session, which is the digital marketing. In our understanding, just to give also a little bit of context to this, the digital marketing is, we understand two types of digital marketing. So one is for lead generation, the other is for brand awareness. The lead generation campaigns as such, they tend to be a little bit more short term, a bit more intensive when it comes to resources and budget speeds being spent. And the main focus is to generate student leads, student inquiries in a limited amount of time. It can be for a certain student workshop or a student fair virtually these days, or it can be for a webinar or a certain virtual tour for the school. So there's different purposes, but the approach is usually sort of a very quick burst intensive campaign, often subsidized with budgets. Brand awareness, on the other hand, tends to be the more longer, overarching type of campaign, and it is rather tailored to develop the brands of educators in particular markets or internationally. So less budget intensive, however, more content oriented. So using advantage of PR articles, interviews, content posting in social media, and so on, in order to sort of promote the brand over a longer period of time and develop a followership, which at the end of the day might bring actual inquiries and bookings, which is obviously the desired end effect. When it comes to China and how these approaches converge in the digital platforms and channels in the Chinese digital space, as you will see from this diagram, the Chinese digital space is very rich and very complex. For any kind of engagement and purpose, there is several channels, whether it's blogs, whether it's instant messaging, video streaming, social networking, video sharing. So it can be quite a challenging exercise for any educator to figure out which platform to take advantage of. And therefore, in the next couple of slides, I'll just share a few that in our experience with setting up digital marketing campaigns have been reliable, either consistent and have improved over time, or recently became even more relevant. So you're probably very well familiar with WeChat. If educators could choose one particular platform where to be present and engaged, we would probably recommend this one, as it is a complete package. So it combines messaging, content sharing, creating official accounts, and creating layouts that allow for interaction with followers and with users. And this is the most popular, basically, app in the Chinese digital marketing universe, allowing for different types of accounts being set up and different type of content being posted also publicly. The other one is Sina Weibo, which could be an equivalent of Western Twitter. So this platform has been also one of the longer existing and still retaining its presence. It's a very good platform for content sharing. So it allows for sort of discussing, posting, commenting trending topics with content. Schools consider to have it as their basically virtual address in China. So having a Weibo account is almost a must for any school that wants to stay relevant and wants to stay visible in the Chinese digital space. Baidu, as you probably will be familiar with the name, is the most prominent search engine in the Chinese digital space. It is equivalent to Google internationally. It allows for basically similar features and purposes as Google Ads. So it allows for pay-per-click advertisement through the keywords, through the banners, and various ads. It features a so-called Baidu Baike, which is a Wikipedia linked to Baidu, where schools can establish their institutional profile, their description, the content, and this way make themselves also more accessible, more visible, and allow for better indexing in Baidu search engines. So Baidu is the way to go, especially for educators that want to have a Chinese website, that want to have it properly optimized through the search engine optimization with a good indexing, so it ranks higher and shows among the search results of the students, or can take advantage of the pay-per-click advertisement in order to appear among the sponsored ads. Some of notable mentions, I would say, are a couple of platforms here. These have come up over the years and caught attention of the audiences. I'm sure most of you will be familiar with TikTok, which is the interactive videos or the trending videos application. It has a similar purpose in China, and educators are trying to sort of figure out the reach and the added value, how to be also present on this platform. Tencent QQ is a similar platform to WeChat, slightly older, but still in effect and relevant, and educators use it to communicate with parents, students, agents, and it also allows for content sharing. The Bilibili platform is a new type of video streaming and video creation platform where users can post short videos which can be seen by users and commented. So it serves a sort of YouTube purpose for schools to upload video content. And the last one, the Xiaohongshu, is an app for sharing reviews and sharing sort of experiences with either travel experiences or with certain products, for example, and basically another platform that can be leveraged in educators' approach to the market. So there's quite a lot, and we will probably hear from our colleagues in China as well which platforms they would recommend and they use in their day-to-day interaction and promotion when working with students and parents. But I would leave that for discussion. So this is just a quick intro into the topic. And without further ado, I'll stop the screen share and invite our panelists to make themselves visible if their video works. Hopefully it does. And we can dive into the topic further on. Good. Okay. So it seems that we have all the panelists, and therefore I would just allow for a round of introduction from each of them to share their a little bit of their context and basically where they come from and what's their background. And perhaps I could start with Joel.
Aloha, and thank you, Igor, for allowing me to be part of this panel. My name is Joel Weaver, and I am the president of the Study Hawaii Educational Consortium. My day job, actually, I'm the director of the pre-entry pathway program, ESL pathway program for the University of Hawaii at Manoa. Study Hawaii has over 25 members throughout the state of Hawaii, and we represent K-12 schools, boarding schools, as well as ESL programs in schools, as community colleges and universities with graduate programs. So we have a big tent because we're a small state. So we have a big tent that represents many different kinds of educational institutions to promote Hawaii as what we call the best classroom in the world, which actually is a phrase that when we work with BONARD since they were student marketing before, and they've helped us a lot in different areas of strategic planning as well as market intelligence, as well as digital marketing. So it's a pleasure to be here. I look forward to learning with you as we go through this webinar this morning. Aloha.
Thank you, Joe. Aloha. And let me pass the word to Chenxing.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Chenxing Zhang. I'm from BOSSA, Beijing Overseas Study Services Association. So we are association of the recruiting agencies. We have around 300 agencies members across China. I'm the director of the International Development Department. I normally do is to develop the international educator providers or service providers, both internationally or nationally. Okay, thank you very much, and thanks Igor for inviting us.
A pleasure. Ni hao, Chenxing. And perhaps over to Ali.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. I look forward to the discussion. I am Ali Rajab. I'm the president and owner of CLLC, Canadian Language Learning College. We were established first in Halifax, Canada, and then we branched out to Ottawa, the capital of Canada, and Toronto. So in total, we have 3 campuses. We are one of the fastest growing schools in Canada. We are designated by the Ministry of Education, and we are also a member of Languages Canada and EduNova. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you, Ali. And let's conclude the introduction round with Taoyuan.
Hi, thanks, Igor. My name is Taoyuan. I'm currently living in Hangzhou, China. Before that, I completed my master's and PhD in UK in mechanical engineering. And I've been working in this industry for over 10 years. Now I'm operating my own education accountancy consultancy company. And our business basically focuses in 2 scenarios. The first one is we help students prepare themselves and apply for the universities and from undergraduate study to PhD study. And the second scenario is we try to establish partnerships between Chinese education institutions with the overseas institutions. And now, basically, we provide, I can speak to lots of students in China, like over 100 every year. So I have lots of experience to face their families. So that's why I hope I can be a useful suggestion to everybody today. Thanks.
谢谢 Taoyuan. Thank you for your introduction. Before I continue, I just want to encourage questions from the audience. I think we have a nice blend of experienced people on the panel that if you would like to be curious, feel free to post your questions in the chat or in the Q&A window. And there might be 2 or 3 poll questions that will appear in the course of webinars. So we would be pleased if you can also participate and vote to share your opinion with us. Perhaps going back to my start of the presentation and also back to Joel. Joel, you combine perspectives of your consortium members. How do you view the current state of the industry with COVID, with the second wave ongoing, and what is the sentiment of your members as well?
Well, as you mentioned, thank you, Igor. As you mentioned in your opening, this, we're all suffering around the world. Hawaii, because of our remote location, we're the most remote land in the world, is entirely dependent. And one of our main industries, of course, is tourism and edu-tourism as well. And so we have been suffering, and many of our members actually have had to close their doors, especially the smaller operations. And you mentioned this in your intro again. And so it's been, again, we're not alone in this, I know, but it's been a very challenging period for all of us. And the shift as an instructor, as an educator, the shift to online learning has brought its own set of challenges. Now there's opportunities within the challenges always, but the key problem right now, of course, is travel restrictions. And we're having an experiment actually here in Hawaii on Friday. The state is reopening for less restricted travel. And everybody's, kind of wondering how that's going to affect our incidence rate of coronavirus. But of course, the schools here are eager to be able to get some of the students back. In fact, all of our schools have gone into an online format at the K-12 level, as well as the vocational level, as well as the tertiary, colleges and universities, and have done a pretty great job at adjusting for that. But as we look at the landscape, we realize that this is a long haul kind of situation that certainly until there is a very good vaccine available, like everyone else, we will be restricted in the numbers of people who will be coming. And we're going to have to be agile and figure out how to deal with those things and how to engage with people who can't physically be here, whether it's through online courses, again, through digital marketing, through being more aware of the rich educational possibilities until they can actually get on an airplane and come.
Thank you, Joel. Very, very useful to know the context and circumstances of the association and study Hawaii and Hawaii's destination. Perhaps also a question to Ali. Ali, as you as a sort of educational provider with several centers, how did you adapt to the COVID situation, and how are you faring? You're muted, Ali.
I guess our industry went through 3 phases, if I can call them. Phase 1, I would call it the honeymoon phase, where school switched its programs to online and allowed the students to complete their winter, spring semesters. No refund issues during phase 1. And some countries provided some wage subsidy, which helped creating a great financial cushions for schools. The second phase was a disaster, as the summer passes without any revenue, in addition to dealing with refund issues, which created either short-term or long-term damages in relationships. Few schools went under, as you both mentioned. Schools, I believe, are now witnessing the third phase. I mean, schools and agency, everyone involved. COVID-19 second wave is hitting in many different countries. The number of people impacted are doubled compared to March in some countries, but yet we didn't see the same restrictions from government as it happened back in March. Some other countries like Canada, for example, they are reopening the borders starting from October 20th. So phase 3 may last until mid-2021. That's my personal prediction. And I also predict that phase 4 will take place as soon as there is a vaccine available for everyone.
Thank you, Ali. Very interesting analogy, which we certainly can relate. And with this, perhaps it would be interesting to hear from the other side of the spectrum, from within the market, how the agent market has fared in times of COVID, starting with Chenxing.
Okay, I will say that the whole industry has been impacted seriously. I've been talking to our members for a while about this pandemic, and what I can say is, I think at least 1/3 of our members has just gone, but it's not dead. I will try to another word is hibernation, especially for the small scale agencies. They just move out from the offices and they stay at home. And once the students come back, they can start be active. But for the large and the media agencies, it's different. I don't know whether you know about LG is very big agents. They have closed old sub companies across the China. So they have a kind of online campaign. So they move all their counselors into online platform. And so I've also talked to the Liucheng, is a B2B agencies. They said at least half of their sub agents has gone. So the whole industry has been impacted seriously right now.
Thank you. It does sound like quite significant damage, and corresponds with what we are hearing in the market when we speak to agencies. And yes, I had a chance to speak with the director of LG when they were in the transition to the online platform. So perhaps that has helped them to brace the situation better, but many agents were not as fortunate. Taoyuan, can you perhaps share from your personal experience as an agent, what it meant for you, what it meant for your staff and your clients?
Okay, actually, I have some different opinion about the virus problem, because it is the fact that a lot of students, they are afraid about the current situation, and their families are worried about their safety and health. But this year, actually, we have increased the number of students who want to go abroad. So basically, it depends on which cities and which countries you want to go. For example, lots of students, they don't want to go to America anymore, but they will select like a UK or Hong Kong, this type of country and area, instead of go to America. And also, I think for young generations, they don't really care about the virus because actually it's not as serious as we think, I mean, in terms of the disease itself. But the families, I mean, their parents, the old generations, they are worried about their kids. So that's the issue. So usually, depends on the families, their opinion about that. But also, I think for the some institutions like lower ranking universities, it's really difficult for them to pursue students to go there. But for the good university, I mean, have good reputations universities, even, I mean, even there's a war happened, they really want to go there. So it won't stop them going the countries, I mean, the overseas countries. So that's my experience about the situation. But I think everything will be fine in the future. So maybe next year, there's a lot of students, I mean, the current students and maybe the student who will graduate next year, they want to go abroad because this is the trend. So that's
Thank you, Taoyuan. You make some uplifting comments to the perhaps a little bit pessimistic circumstances, but I heard similar. I heard that many counselors in China who are dealing with UK destination, for example, have increasingly gotten busy as there seems to be a shift of demand. So going from US to UK or Canada or other destinations. So it seems to be, there seems to be demand, and there seems to be sort of the process going on, but with limited amount of mobility at the moment. So that's that.
I some more comments because I think it will bring some changes in the Chinese, I mean, industry. I mean the agent industry, because this is a new opportunity. Because usually in the past we just provide information, so they didn't create any, in my opinion, create any profit to the students. So we just help them to apply for the universities. So that's quite easy job. A traditional Chinese agency companies, they provide this kind of services. But now the requirements from students have been changed. They want more. They want to know more information about the countries, about how to study well, about their future career. So usually our business now has been changed, not just help students apply for the university. We need to help them to plan for their lives. And also we teach them a lot of, I mean, knowledge in terms of the professional knowledge in their field. So that's why some agents, they're dying, because they just provide simple work. Everybody can do it. But lots of small and media companies who is the expert in some field, I think their business is growing. So that's the current situation.
Interesting. So you are saying that the trends are changing in China, and obviously the main topic we want to really touch on today is whether digital marketing and digital recruitment as an international recruitment channel is a changing trend in the context of COVID. Joel, do you have your take on this? Obviously, you are a well-established international education brand, your schools, and digital marketing has been in the repertoire of your activities. Has it actually increased because of COVID? And what have you, as association body or the educators, done in this regard?
We a year ago, actually summer 2019, which seems like a wonderful period of time looking back on it. we engaged with the digital marketing campaign that was focused actually on Brazil, Japan, and Vietnam. And we, as a consortium, worked together with BONARD to craft a digital marketing campaign to raise the awareness. And you talked about the different purposes for digital marketing earlier on. And so our desire, because, you know, as my background shows, I mean, because Hawaii is known as a relaxation, a tourist, a wedding, honeymoon kind of destination, we really wanted to raise the profile. This is the point of our association, is raise the profile of Hawaii as, yes, of course, a beautiful place, but also a great place to study, great place to get an education. And so that was the focus of why we engaged with BONARD in developing a digital marketing strategy. And we found quite, without hyperbole, just incredible results in terms of engagement with the customers. And that led up until early part of this year. And unfortunately, because of the COVID situation, we weren't able to build on that as we would have liked to. And so because most of our members were just struggling to survive and stay afloat during the early days in March and April, we haven't had a chance to regroup and focus forward to build on the beginnings of the awareness of our study offerings in those key markets, especially in Asia, which is our biggest market for sending students here. And so right now, we're actually in the process of reconfiguring, and you know, those who survived to the fall of 2020 are the survivors, and wanting to engage again with the digital marketing because we can't travel, and we're looking at ways to not just build brand awareness, but begin to pinpoint specific activities or specific study fields which will be specifically attractive to these different markets we're wanting to enter into. And we have great hopes for that.
Thank you. And Ali, do you relate? Has digital marketing become more important for you in the context of COVID and sort of restricted mobility?
Digital marketing has been a priority since the beginning of the new era of digital marketing. But I believe what happened after COVID-19 is our teaching staff recognize that digital space is not a marketing fancy approach for our administrative team only, but they have also to learn new skills, which is a must to stay compatible as individuals and as schools.
Interesting. So for you, it has been at the forefront of your activities ever since.
Absolutely.
Okay. Does it also apply to Asia or China in particular?
Well, as you know, China is really a tough market to keep the same level of presence just due to all the restrictions that you know about China. We have done our homework, and we have a Chinese friendly website hosted in Hong Kong with reasonable search engine optimization. We have a WeChat account that helps us to send all our marketing information to our agents in China, as they also like to learn all the updates about our university pathway programs, which includes above, more than 50 universities in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been unique in China. It's been challenging, but we are trying our best to make it through.
Understandably so. Thank you. And Taoyuan, you as a sort of study abroad consultancy and agency, have you witnessed an increased activity from overseas educators in their effort to sort of establish their digital presence in China?
I see some universities, they have established some like channels in social media platform, which attract more students. But in my opinion, digital marketing is a necessary method, even without the virus problem, because China is very big. You can't use the traditional method to go everywhere in China because it takes time, and also you spend a lot of money. Now we have safety issues. But in fact, how to attract your students actually is just about the information we provide to them. Some details of the information are not easy to understand. I mean, not only for the students and their parents, but also for the agents. So I think using digital presence can help these people to better gather the information. But the problem is what kind of information we'll provide? Because we know Cambridge, Oxford, MIT, they never have these marketing things, and they don't have the students problem. So I think it's better to have some unique features for the marketing strategies. I mean, digital marketing strategy. What you need to put in the in your materials, because it seems like you have done a very solid research about the tools we use in China, but the content is quite important because the young generations, their habits have been changed. Usually they go to the exhibitions to talk to the university representatives to ask about the information. But what I can feel the difference is we have some problems to let them know why you need to choose these universities. All the paperwork, pictures, all the videos are not good enough. So when special things like, for example, VR presentations, or the real environment about the accommodation, about the classrooms, about the living things, sort of thing like that. So the parents will know, okay, it's really good, because without that, all the current information is about the rankings, about we have very good research, we have very good facilities, but we can't feel it. So you need to let the students and the parents to visualize, even to feel the differences about your institution. That's quite important.
Thank you, Tan. This is very useful. And if I may, I'll sort of ask probably a question that a lot of educators are asking themselves in their decision whether and how much sort of to invest in digital marketing. For you as an agent, seeing this increased effort of overseas educators to set up their platforms, their channels, do you see it in a competitive sense? Does it sort of create challenges for you as an agency, or do you see it as a positive effect because it helps you to convene the quality and those unique points of the schools, universities you promote even better, because now you have more tools?
Well, we do have some issues about that, because now, because those universities, they have very good, I mean, digital marketing strategies, have some materials available online. So the students and parents, they can get those information easily. But the fact is how to analyze those information, because they only know, okay, we want to go there, but because of its high ranking. But for students, they are not good enough for the universities. There are lots of other options for them. So it depends on the agent, I mean the counselor's experience to tell them which one is good. So I think somehow it will create some challenge for us, because we need to explain more things to the students why you need to choose this university, without like in the past, because the transparency of the information, they won't get this information. But it's also I think for the universities, they need to classify the information which is available for the students or which is only available for the agents, so we can have some special things to tell the students. So that, like the university, they have their recognized institution list. So you should not let those things to the students know. So
yes, absolutely. Thank you. And just to conclude sort of this area of question, Chenxing, for you as a association body, your service to the membership and to the agent market, how important is digital marketing for you as association? And do you do a certain form or any form of digital marketing in China?
Yeah, I think digital marketing is very important. It's not only for us, for everyone, the educators, the agencies, even the associations. We also have developed our online platform is kind of the digital marketing stuff during the pandemic, so we have time to do that. And I will say that the digital marketing, I can put them in 3 levels. The first level, very easy, information sharing. You just put the information on it. It's just numbers or whatever it is, information. But if you want more, you have to go to the level 2, which is the knowledge. You have to give them the knowledge, teach them how, let them get interested. And the top level is the story. If you can tell a story, that's very good digital marketing strategy. So, but for our association, we use different thing to do that. Since we are a kind of association, so we have students' trust. So we use the trust to promote our digital, our products.
Thank you. It's a good summary. And probably you are now seeing the results of our first poll question, which is, do you feel an increased need for educators to have more established digital presence? Yes, majority has, 88% have answered that it's certainly a yes. And probably that also goes for, especially for China. Just to go back on that point, what you said, Chenxing, that there are certain levels or layers of digital marketing. We have seen it develop over time and change as well. So the original traditional methods were to sort of create a channel, to create a platform and post promotional videos about schools, about programs, about academics, maybe student testimonials. And this seems to have worked for a certain period of time, but now as the platforms have changed and they have become more intricate, more sort of content driven, there's more video, there is more sort of trending and viral kind of content circulating. We see that the trend in this is changing for educators as well. So it's no longer only about to create a nice promotional video about the school and to sort of speak about the advantages of the programs, but how do you actually sort of speak to your target audience? How do you create something in common with them that they identify with, their lifestyle, their culture, sort of the things that they follow, the key opinion leaders, which is a big topic as well, and educators are starting to sort of invest into this and take certain advantage. So it seems that the approach is changing, and perhaps back over to you, Joel. Have you experienced this trend as well? And do you consider that this is a new challenge or it's a new opportunity for association and your members?
Absolutely. There's obviously I used the word agile before. I mean, we really need to be adjusting based on market realities. In fact, again, last year in December, we worked with BOSSA to put on a specific digital fair for some of our members, and that was a way for us to engage. And he spoke to the fact that there's data, there's information, there's a story, and you need to be looking for ways to establish that connection to a specific student, to what their concerns and what their ideas and maybe misconceptions of study in your location. We found that that virtual fair that we did, you need to find a reliable partner who understands these things. BOSSA for us was a natural fit. Many of our institutions already work with agents within the BOSSA framework. And we found that to be very useful for establishing those linkages, and then you can follow up on them. As with anything to do with marketing or to do with promoting your services, you need to be engaged, you need to be developing that relationship. I mentioned earlier our digital campaign that we worked with BONARD to carry out. The key thing is the follow-up on the back end. The key thing is to once you get those contacts, to follow up with them and develop that relationship such that you can address their specific needs. And that takes a lot of time, but that's, I mean, we have time. We're not sitting on airplanes right now, traveling to different places. So this is a time to really focus, and you get more bang for your buck as you engage in the digital space to provide the information that will make that student or make that family choose to come to your destination.
Thank you, Joel. And Ali, if I may, over to you. Has your approach changed over time as the different platforms have proliferated and the overall sort of digital marketing has become more sophisticated, more subtle in sort of identifying with students? I wonder.
Usually when I give seminars to my team and I use the word digital, I say, hey, don't be scared. Digital marketing is basically doing marketing digitally. So that just to make things easier and less complicated. So I look at it as two different parts, online and offline, and that's our own internal definition. So online is everything related to the social media channels, name it, Twitter, Instagram, all these, new platforms that we adapt to learn about them and work with them as it goes. And then the offline is the cornerstone of the social media, of the online. And what I mean by offline is the website, which we are actually now taking advantage of this period as things slow down, and we are working to launch a new website. The content of the website and the search engine optimizations with that. There are lots of applications and links in the website, like the students applications, the agency applications. So we created a new CRM. We just launched it last week. It's now in the testing phase. And then we created, we started to work on this in April, taking advantage of how things slow down. And all of these are part of the offline part of the digital marketing. So website, content of the website, session optimizations, your CRM has to be up to date and all the links has to be compatible. And those are the cornerstone for the social media. If you go and you promote your school on all the social media, either story or basic, promotions, people will end up coming to your website and they have to see a website that will encourage them to send you leads. And then the real concern comes, which is how can you convert those leads to become sales? So to answer your question, we have, as I mentioned earlier, we have adapted the digital marketing from the very beginning. I think it's a must for our industry. And after the era of COVID-19, I think there are two opportunities for schools. One, I think everyone recognizes, the digital mobility. This could be attending a workshop online, either B2B or B2C. This could be also providing online courses. And the second opportunity for universities in particular is doing more research in cooperation with other universities in the other part of the world, instead of doing their own research within the university. And I think that would open lots of doors to enhance the research within the universities, and in the same time, save cost as well and share the wealth among the world.
Thank you, Ali. That's a good response on this particular topic. Cognizant on the time, I want to give some space to our attendees, and we already have several questions posted. So Elizabeth is asking, how important is it to have information directed specifically at the Chinese audience as opposed to international students? And does it help to have the materials, videos, stories in English or in Chinese, or actually in both languages? I think this is a good question to ask our colleagues from China. Perhaps Chenxing, what do you think about this?
All right. I think you have to focus on your target. It's the parents or the students. It depends on what level your if you are doing postgraduate, you better just focus on the students. If you're doing the undergraduate or even younger, you just focus on the parents. So it's a different style, different way, and I think the language, you better just put the English and Chinese on it, both. Maybe like the English sound with the Chinese subtitles. I think basically.
Thank you. I'll compliment that when we sort of launched our first projects in China, and we had sort of local representatives of educators represent them and visit the agents, there was really a lack of sort of good material from educators in order to enhance the message, enhance the value proposition. So we had to do a lot of translation work, a lot of creating own brochures with Chinese students, among international students, because foreign educators would use, different nationalities, and you wouldn't see Chinese students. So a local student or parent would have a difficulty to identify. So back, probably this was maybe 5-7 years ago, it was difficult, but nowadays it seems that the educators have learned this and are actually optimizing materials into Chinese, creating brochures which feature faces of Asian students, basically tailoring the message to the parents and to the students. So the approach has actually improved. Taoyuan, what do you think about this?
To be honest, I have some not good news for the strategy like what you're talking about, because 90% of the students I talked about, they never read any brochures. They just information from you. The good material is like you do need a Chinese version, particularly for the Chinese parents. But nobody really care about those things. They want to, as I said, they want to hear the stories. They want to see the pictures. They don't really care about what you put in the brochures, because nobody will put bad words in the brochures. And also, for example, when I attended some exhibitions, there are lots of like brochures to just put anywhere in the place, and they just throw them away after that. So it's waste of money. And you need some unique in your materials. As I said, for example, I can give like my idea how to make a good materials. Like if you want to make some videos to share about the student lives and education qualities of the institution, you'd better have some internet celebrity, maybe your former students, or you can just invite someone. So because those people, they have lots of followers, and in China, students get information by the what we can say, we transfer the information mouth by mouth. Like we care about the reputation instead of the real good things. So that's a side news actually, but that's the fact.
Thank you. It's quite a pragmatic answer. I think it will help a lot of educators to decide whether they should print or go digital. And it's certainly important to have brochures for the parents, but you have to have interesting content for the students that will really make you stand out. And that's entirely different sort of type of content that you need to prepare. Ali, a question from the audience that I think would be suitable for you. Paul is asking, do you need to have someone in China to create and manage the Chinese social media presence, or like WeChat, Sina Weibo, the ones we shared and discussed a little bit, or could it be managed, for example, from Canada? Coincidentally, you're from there. So what do you think, in your experience? Would you be able to? You're muted.
Been doing that since the beginning. So yes, I think you can do that without having a presence in China. Of course, if you have a presence in China, that will make things easier, but you can do it without having someone in China.
I'll offer also my experience on this. Again, to compare previous and the current situation. Back in the day, a lot of agencies would fulfill this role, that they would set up the social media accounts for their educational partners, which was good. Sort of it helped to sort of outsource it and to have someone local do it. But if the reputation or the relationship with agency was at stake, the school would be losing potentially all these platforms that the agency would have developed. Another difficulty or risk sort of factor is if there is, for example, a local person who manages all these channels and he's a local representative of the educator. And if things go well, it's excellent. But if all the accounts are in his name and sort of under his personal account, there is also a risk factor that if the person leaves it someday, he's effectively taking away all that presence, all those precious contacts, all that content overnight. And we saw it happen. And the good thing about it is that both WeChat and Weibo platforms in the recent past have actually made it easier for international educators overseas without having to have an office or business in China to also set up the accounts, which gives them more control. Or if working with a third party, a consultancy, an agency that is specialized in digital marketing, they can now set up these accounts and they can effectively hand over the control to the client, to the educator. So there is no integrity, no continuity lost in the process, even if the school decides to manage these platforms on their own. Okay. Another quick look at the questions. And we have actually the result of another poll. So the question was, how familiar are you with the Chinese digital space? 28% answers not at all, 46% answers just a little bit, and 26% answers quite a lot. So we still see that there is still a lot of space to and opportunity to learn about digital platforms in China. Good. Moving towards the conclusion of the webinar, we basically understood that digital marketing is certainly important for both educators and agents. In this time, probably even more so with the restriction to travel and meet face-to-face. The platforms have been proliferating, developing. The whole approach has been sort of evolving and now becomes more subtle than before. And the schools are able to manage these campaigns even themselves, or they can employ experienced third parties. So it's not as much a risk concern as in the past. Gentlemen, what would be your final recommendations when it comes to setting up effective, successful, reasonably productive digital marketing sort of presence in China? What would you recommend to fellow educators who are sort of listening to the panel? Let's start with Taoyuan.
I have two suggestions for the friends attending today's webinar. The first one is about is it necessary or not? It is very necessary, but it cannot replace the traditional exhibitions right now. Because, for example, if students attend the exhibitions, you can get their details, you can explain more things to them. But for the digital marketing things, the loyalty of the students are not very good. Just come, see, and go. So you don't have chance to talk to them, to impress them by your experience. So that's the first thing. So it's a good supplement method for the current marketing strategy, but it still takes time to replace the everything. I mean, that's the first suggestion. The second one, if you want to decide to start your digital marketing, it's not an easy job. It's easy to create accounts or subscriptions, I mean, from at the social media, but maintain it is very difficult because we do some digital marketing things right now in my company, and it takes time to create very good content, and also it's very expensive. If you hire someone to run the project, you need to have some staff to do that, and also it takes time. So if you have a worse things, you should not do that, because it will not add any disadvantages to your current branding strategy. So that's my suggestion.
Thank you. Well on point. Chenxing, could you elaborate from your position and perspective?
Okay, I think the first thing foreign educators must know is Chinese students, they apply through agents. Most of the Chinese students, they apply for the agents. It's different from the other rest of the world. They might just apply directly on their own, but Chinese students, they apply through agents. So if you want to put the materials, if you want to get the information, telling stories online, you can only have your brand awareness. The students have read your information, they have a very little chance to apply to you directly. So I think still the targets, which one you want to focus on? You want to focus on the students or you want to focus on the agents? So you better just go both way, online, offline.
Thank you. That's a very good to the point answer. Ali, Joel, do you have anything to add from your perspective as educator? Ali?
Yeah, I agree 100% that China is a very agent-based market, and it's been the case since the beginning. Although we have approached the digital marketing to overcome all the barriers, but our focus been since the beginning is agent focused. Due to all the reasons that you just mentioned, Mr. Zhang. As another point with digital marketing, usually people make their decisions emotionally, and it's hard digitally to have that emotions, communications, and interactions. If you add to that, COVID, wearing these masks where people cannot see your smiles if you have one on your face, it makes things even harder. If students are in the campus or if they are online, I think we need to overcome that, difficulties to show our emotions and how warm and welcome we are as institutions, either dealing with parents, with students, or partners.
Thank you. Joel, anything to add on top?
Yeah, I just want to reiterate that each of the things my fellow panelists have said are really key. It all comes down to relationship, and you need our perspective, and speaking for our consortium, our perspective is China is such a diverse and a challenging market, especially during these times. You really need a partner who understands the market and can represent you fairly and well. And that challenge there is finding an agency or an entity of some sort that understands that and can honestly and reliably represent you. And that first relationship with that outside entity is the most important, because you're basically allowing them to be the face of your program or the face of your institution in that location. And so providing them with enough information to be able to do so and cultivating that relationship is key to ongoing success. They're the ones who represent you, interact with students directly, interact with, and understand the geography of China and where your programs might be most effectively desired. And so building that first relationship with an agency or an entity that understands the Chinese market is key, and providing them with the support and the resources they need to, whether it's digitally or face-to-face, engage with your potential clients in that location.
Thank you, Joel. And it's good. I'm glad that we are concluding in unison that in China, being such a specific market, digital marketing is certainly important and viable. It can contribute to the recruitment results. When I speak to people that do a good digital marketing, they say that it does improve the recruitment, the bookings, the admissions in the extent of anywhere between 5 to 15%. If you do a very good, thorough job, you have great content very frequently and regularly, very engagement, sort of very attractive. It probably can go as high as 20, 25%. But like Taoyuan and Chenxing said, it will not become the major recruitment channel the trust, the person-to-person trust is so important in China that only agents at the moment or the counselors are effectively in position to create and to relate, and this way basically to help their students to apply overseas. But it is all very helpful, and I think in these times when the platforms and the services have so proliferated, it oftentimes is even cheaper to have a digital marketing sort of campaign going on than to sort of employ a full-time employee, you know. So if educators are asking, is it viable to outsource it? Yes, certainly, but we recommend to do the due diligence, to vet the providers, the agencies who are capable, who are local, who understand both sides of the spectrum, educators, parents, students, and can create this this sort of nice link between them and facilitate this trust. So on that note, I would like to conclude. I'll just share the last result of the poll is, do you have a digital recruitment strategy for China in place? 67% answered not yet, but interested. So this is quite optimistic, whereas 90% have said yes and 40% have said no. So with that, thank you very much to the fellow panelists. I know that it is almost midnight in China, and Joel has woken up very early today, so you'll have a long day just to be with us. Ali, thank you as well. And also thanks to everyone who attended. And if we didn't answer some of the questions, feel free to approach us at the contact information that will be made available as a follow-up after this webinar. You will receive a recording and also the slides of the presentation, and we'll be happy to take any questions. So stay vigilant, stay strong during this COVID, and let's embrace it together. Thank you. Have a nice day.